Welcome you all in this lecture series program. Today we are going to talk about innatism or LAD. LAD stands for Language Acquisition Device. This topic is from the contents in Introduction to Linguistics Semester 2. This topic is very essential for the students of the BS and MA English. So without a further go, let's get started our today's topic. Here are the definitions from Longman Dictionary of Language Teaching and Applied Linguistics. And according to this book, language acquisition device, or we call it LAD or innatism, it is another term for language faculty or innatism. The term is seldom used nowadays, having been replaced by the concept of universal grammar. So here what we are talking about in language acquisition device, that human being has language senses or language faculty, which is basically inborn, which is from the birth of human being. Nowadays this topic, language acquisition device, is used as universal grammar. So this is the picture we are going to present, that how human being uh, have senses for learning a language. What is innatism? Simply, innatism maintains that the human brain is born with ideas and knowledge already pre-programmed into it, and that certain aspects of language are already with us from the start. They are, in other words, innate. Innatism is actually an ability which is from the birth to human being. It is pre-programmed by God to human being, and it is something which is having an ability to human being for speaking or learning a language. For example, when we talk about this child, that it has led language acquisition device, where it is or where it lies into the mind, this the linguists don't know, but however they are sure that something like language acquisition device exists in human being, which is from the birth. Behaviorism and innatism. Before Chomsky, behaviorists argued that language was a purely learned ability and that a child had to be taught everything about it from birth. Chomsky, he gave the concept of innatism, but before that, there was another school of linguistics which is called behaviorism, and in which behaviorists, they were of the view that children, they are taught a language. They do not have that inborn ability, but it is all about that they are taught, they are learning after the birth. But by developing groundbreaking theories in the field of psycholinguistics, Chomsky suggested that people are born with innate language ability, which enables them to acquire language. But in innatism, as we already have talked about, that Chomsky, he said that it is something from the birth, and it is an ability which is inborn. यहाँ पे अगर हम बिहेवियरिज्म की बात करते हैं, तो बिहेवियरिस्ट के मुताबिक कि लैंग्वेज जो है बर्थ के बाद सीखी जाती है, मगर जब हम इनेटिज्म की बात करते हैं तो चॉम्स्की ये कहते हैं कि लैंग्वेज लर्निंग ह्यूमन बीइंग के अंदर पैदाइशी है, यानी ये एक पैदाइशी सलाहियत है जो कि बाद में सीखी तो जा सकती है, मगर बेसिकली एक प्रोग्राम नेचुरल तौर पे इंसान के अंदर मौजूद होता है लैंग्वेज सीखने या बोलने के लिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, थैंक्स टू दिस इनेट नॉलेज ऑफ लैंग्वेज, the human brain can recognize a sentence to be correct, even though it has never been heard or seen before, and even though that sentence carries no intrinsic meaning. यानी यहाँ पे एक और एग्जांपल दिया गया है कि जैसे कि अगर कोई सेंटेंस हमारे सामने आए, तो अगर हम उसकी मायने नहीं भी समझते मगर इतना जान जाते हैं कि ये सेंटेंस ठीक है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अ सेंटेंस which encounters to us, we recognize that this is really the correct sentence, although we may not know its meaning. What is innatism? Here is something more. Look at the Chomsky sentence again. For example, there is a sentence, colorless green dreams sleep furiously. Now, this is a sentence. We all know it is grammatically correct, despite it is having no logical meaning. But how do we know this? Chomsky argued that language rules must already exist in our brains in order to understand the language used around us. For example, according to Chomsky, that this is the sentence, colorless green dreams sleep furiously. Now, this is not the correct sentence, and this does not have meaning, but we know grammatically this structure is correct. So this understanding, how do we know, this is something which is pre-programmed or which is innate knowledge to human being. अब यहाँ पे जैसे कि एक सेंटेंस है और ये सेंटेंस बेसिकली इसकी कोई मायने खास नहीं है, मगर ग्रामेटिकली हम समझते हैं कि ये सेंटेंस ठीक है। कैसे समझते हैं? ये चॉम्स्की कहते हैं कि ये नॉलेज जो है, कि हम ये समझते हैं कि ये ठीक है, ये इंसान को पैदाइशी एक सलाहियत है। They hear false starts, incomplete sentences, and so on, and yet manage to make sense of the language despite this. Instead, Chomsky argued that children learn how to make sense of their own mother tongue because of the relation they have to underlying rules they already possess. Generative grammar and innatism. What is the role of generative grammar? We already have talked about. You may find link into the description box if you want to learn what is generative grammar. I already have talked about this topic. Right now, what is the role of generative grammar for understanding of innatism? Innatism is closely linked with generative grammar. Simply put, this is the idea that all languages are related. And if we look deep enough, there is a single set of language rules which apply to all languages. As we say that in generative grammar, that all languages are related and there is a single set of language rules which apply to all languages. Innatism suggests that these rules are already present in our brains from birth. यहाँ पे जब हम जनरेटिव ग्रामर की बात करते हैं तो जनरेटिव ग्रामर के मुताबिक कि सारी लैंग्वेजेस आपस में रिलेटेड होती हैं, मिली हुई होती हैं, यानी उनके बहुत सारे रूल्स जो है वो एक जैसे होते हैं लैंग्वेजेस के अंदर। और इनेटिज्म इसी को ही आगे बढ़ाता है कि ये सारे रूल्स जो है वो पहले से ह्यूमन ब्रेन में मौजूद होते हैं, यानी ये एक पैदाइशी सलाहियत है जो कि सिर्फ ह्यूमन बीइंग के अंदर है। In learning their native languages, children acquire specific rules that determine the sound and meaning of utterances in the language. These rules interact with each other in incredibly complex ways, but the entire system is learned in a relatively short time and with little or no apparent conscious effort. So here when we are talking about children's learning a language, this is incredibly very complex system which is uh, acquired by a child through a conscious effort. Finally, we are reading the last paragraph into this topic. Chomsky felt that the most plausible explanation for the success of human language learners is that they have access to a set of grammar rules already pre-programmed. From birth, they start to hear a language and apply those rules, and can, with relatively little effort, they learn the language. Again, when we talk about grammar and its rules, according to Noam Chomsky, that these are pre-programmed. These are something especially programmed in human being from the birth. And a child, he puts a little effort to acquire a complete language, a perfect language. Thanks for attention. Thank you very much. Hopefully this would have been very helping for all of you.